Hello, everyone. Brett the Comic Novice here, and we finally have a confirmation of Dan Slott's role with DC Comics. Now, originally, I thought it did make sense that he would take over for a three-issue story run on Action Comics, three superstar super creators initiative that they started back in January of 2024. Oddly, the first creator that did that was former full-time Marvel writer Jason Aaron, and so it just made sense. Now, it also made sense that John Ridley, after his three-issue story arc ended in March of 2025, then it would start with Dan Slott in April of the same year. However, we now have confirmation that he is starting the Superman Unlimited title, which is kind of interesting because of the Justice League Unlimited title that Mark Waid just barely started in November of 2024. I'm going to be kind of interested to see because the Justice League Unlimited is going to have a revolving door of Justice League characters, similarly to the Justice League Unlimited cartoon. Now, if we look at the page or the cover art for issue number 1 of Superman Unlimited, we do see basically most of the super family present. And it's going to be interesting to see if it basically is kind of a main Clark Kent / Superman story, or are we going to have a revolving door of the super family throughout the entire time? One other thing that I'm kind of curious about, because again, some people are not too thrilled with Dan Slott, his writing, unless it is on Spider-Man, kind of, sort of, because again, most recently we had the ongoing Spider-Man series that was released, I believe, in 2022, that only lasted 11 issues, but it did introduce Bailey Briggs through one of those Edge of the Spider-Verse storylines. So are we going to get, and the question and the concern possibly is, are we going to get an Into the Superman verse type of a storyline? Which I think, nobody needs any of those Spider-Man, and nobody needs a constant revolving brand new look at Superman and whatnot. Even though the multiverse is alive and well, I think that just diving into that would just be rehashing similar storylines. And so it's hopefully that's not going to occur in this book. The other interesting thing is, and one thing that I kind of hold out hope for, because the last previous full-time Marvel writer that wrote for Superman was Brian Michael Bendis, and he took on both the Action Comics title and the Superman title, and I think that was a recipe for disaster, as we all saw what he did to John Kent and kind of the storyline. I don't know. Anyway, it could have been better, but I think not having full access to both books actually ended up hurting both the Superman character, John Kent himself, and also all Superman fans. Now, Dan Slott might not be the nicest person on Twitter and might have some stereotypical type of writing styles, maybe even according to the Marvel documentary that was on Disney Plus, might be less than an attentive writer when it comes to getting things done. However, we're going to pull those out of question and just figure and focus on the story itself. And I do think that there's certain things to be positive about. It could be a good and brand new look surrounding Clark Kent Superman, which I'm all for. So I'm going to look at this IGN article that was released the 16th of January, 2025, revolving around the news of Dan Slott taking on this brand new Superman Unlimited, and in a monthly series and possibly ongoing. And the interesting thing is going to be is, I believe Brian Michael Bendis' ongoing storyline for Action Comics was about 27 issues, because I believe he took over at 1001, and I don't think he ended until 1028 or so. I think Philip Kennedy Johnson started in 1029, I believe. And then he took the Superman title from issue 1 to issue 27, I think maybe 28 or so. So it's going to be interesting to see if Dan Slott can actually go further than former, all-star writer Brian Michael Bendis on Superman. Also, to see if he can get further than he did with John Kent's or Tom Taylor's John Kent, Son of Kal-El story, which was supposed to be an ongoing until it got canceled in issue 18 because it was not written, at least personally, well. You can see videos that I've done on, and I'll insert those on the links below. But according to this, it says DC Comics has revealed Superman Unlimited, a new monthly series launching in May 2025, one that brings one of Marvel's biggest exclusive writers back into the DC fold. So it discussed some of the things that he's done. We do have, again, the cover art right there. Because we're going back to the Watchtower, obviously we have that interesting explosion of kryptonite, which looks to be heading towards Earth. So are we going to be depowering Superman? Are we going to be doing a Smallville where people are going to be getting metagene powers from the? Is going that would be cheap if he stole ideas from Smallville to increase the Superman's rogues gallery or whatnot, and then have everybody be misunderstood, which would just be so irksome. Again, on the cover, we also do see a variety of the Superman family, Lois Lane. The one that I don't see is Connor Kent, Superboy. So it's going to be quite interesting to see what happens with that too. I'm interested about Raphael Albuquerque. I've never read American Vampire, but one of the things that I do appreciate regarding this is that they're trying to get big names connected with big names on some of these books. You have, Absolute Batman with Scott Snyder and Nick Dragotta on art. You have Jason Aaron and Raphael Sandoval on art. And so with this, and then of course you have Mark Waid, who has had Dan Mora on most of his books or many of his books for a long period of time. Tom Taylor had Bruno Redondo on Nightwing until he didn't. It was very inconsistent, I thought, but it's going to be quite interesting. I wish, and I've heard some commentators talk that Raphael Albuquerque is not the best for a Superman book. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of take he does. If I had a wish, I believe I would have had I don't know what his name is. I'll probably put it in the image down below, but I would have liked the artist that was doing the Green Arrow storyline during the Absolute Power run. I found his art to be very detailed, and it was gritty when it needed to be gritty, and it was bright when it needed to be bright. And I think that that's what you need with a Superman artist. Now, the only thing that I can really say that I've read of Raphael Albuquerque is when he started with Ram V for Ram V's detective run. I know he didn't stay the entire time with that, but again, with all these big names, it's quite interesting to see how they're super connected to everything until they're not. The other thing that's kind of interesting is what are the DC doing with Jorge Jimenez now that Jim Lee is going to be on the Hush 2 storyline with Batman for many months? Are we getting are we setting up stuff for after that Hush storyline is done? Also, interestingly, I was looking at Doomsday Clock and was reminded of a couple of years. So it's going to be interesting to see if they use Jeff Johns' Doomsday Clock to set up a crisis or an event that we haven't really thought about since 2020-ish, 2021, however long, then all the delays in between and whatnot with that. Anyway, Dan Slott says, he's the first and greatest, revolving around Superman. He's the first and greatest superhero of all time. And I've been waiting my whole life to tell stories about him. So hopefully that is good. But we've heard some creators and writers who have said that they did the same exact thing, and they are trying to push their own agenda on the character and whatnot. So it's going to be interesting. But I think DC has more control over the Superman character and Clark Kent compared to where they were with Brian Michael Bendis. I believe they gave him the keys to the car and just said, just don't ding it up that bad. And then he came back and just said, oh, the kid's seat, we threw that out. And yeah, now the car is a Jetson mobile or something. Anyway, says not just because of all the amazing powers, but of who he is inside. And so I hope that line right there, who he is inside, I hope that that really means that he understands the character of Superman. Again, it's truth, justice, but I believe and have always believed that Superman stories always start at a place of hope. And so I really hope that he understands that and can show truly who Superman is and tell these great stories of good defeating evil and bringing hope to the world. I don't know. Maybe, just maybe, I am a little bit naive. Maybe I'm just, too hopeful or whatnot. But I think that I'm going to have some careful skepticism about the entirety of this ongoing run. I'm going to be curious to see how long it lasts and what comes of it. I don't know. Like, subscribe, comment down below. Give me your thoughts about what you think about Dan Slott and this Superman run. Does it give you hope? Does it give you pause to concern? Or are you, you're out on it altogether because of who he is? I'd love to hear your thoughts. And again, until next time, I will see you in the dollar section where probably, and I'm going to go out on a limb and say that this is going to go into at least a second reprinting, and we're going to say possibly a third reprinting. And those ones are what you're going to find in the dollar sections. Thanks for watching.